Stop feeling sorry for yourself. That is the title of this video, and it's not going to be so much as advice today, although I do hope to inspire you, as I'm going to be giving you a cautionary tale about my life. If you don't know me already, my name is Holly, I'm 19. I'm currently on a gap year, I suppose, although it is August, and I'm going to uni in 4 weeks. So I'm just going to get into it and why I'm making this video. I have always been someone who's been academic. I've always achieved. Like in primary school, I was in the special maths group. And although I did struggle socially, I didn't have as many friends, I was always very academically inclined. As I got to secondary school, I was in the top sets and stuff like that, and I was doing separate science and blah blah blah. For my GCSEs, I performed pretty well. I got A stars and A's, and then 1B in biology, even though I tried so hard at biology. I will say that I tried so hard, but that's kind of besides the point. That's just kind of building up to it. I've always been very academic, basically. For my A-levels, I moved from a state-educated school to a private educated school, public? I'm not sure, but to a private school, independent school. I convinced my parents, I basically begged them, I really wanted to go to this school. I'd taken a tour, it was lovely, there was all these old buildings, the teachers were really nice, and I felt like I would really fit in there. So I went there, and in the middle of my first year, my parents moved my sister and I from our 5-bedroom house into this space. As you can see, it's not really a house, so we actually live in a standing caravan. So in the middle of my AS levels, I was taken from my lovely house into living in a standing caravan with 3 very small bedrooms, 1 very small kitchen dining living area, and 1 very small bathroom. So yes, it was a big adjustment and a big change. However, I used it as a crutch. I got very down about the situation. I didn't take control. I just let myself fall victim to it. I became a victim. I had a victim mindset. Anything that went wrong, I blamed on the caravan. I blamed on the living situation. I would have said I was depressed. I was very sad. I was living in a mess. I wasn't taking care of myself with my hygiene, with anything like that. I was just completely and utterly miserable, in all honesty. But I used this thing as an excuse, and I didn't try to get better. I didn't want to get better. I wanted to get out of that situation. So for my A-levels, if there was like, oh, I didn't revise this week, it's because I don't have enough space. It's because it's too cramped. It's because it's too noisy in the caravan. There's too much going on. Even though I was given opportunities by the school, they were making special allowances for me to go in. I wasn't going in for extra time. I was just coming home, doing nothing, lazing, sleeping. My environment, I didn't make sure my room was clean. I just kind of lived in mess. I lived in filth because I just didn't care. I just kind of thought, I just didn't care. I was just in the situation. I wasn't going to get out, and this is what had happened. And I honestly didn't try as hard as I should have for my A-levels, and I think my parents saw me revising, but really in the day when they were at work, I didn't really do much, to be honest. I slept until like 1. And the general point I'm trying to make is that I didn't try in my A-levels. I mean, don't get me wrong, I revised, but I very much left things to the last minute. I just kind of, when it came to things like English, I'm not a natural English person. I'm usually much better at maths, and maths comes naturally to me, but I didn't push that. I just kind of let myself do it. I didn't push to get better at maths. I just kind of was like, oh, I'm fine at it, so I just won't revise it. And with English, I think I got to like the middle of my last year of A-levels, and I was just like, I can't do this, there's no point. I'm just gonna get a B. Which I never thought that would be me, to be honest. I always wanted to go to Oxford. I still do. That is still a really big dream for me at some point, to go to Oxford. I went to the open days every year, and I would have a burst of motivation, but then I would just get down again about my living situation. And yeah, okay, it was out of my control, but I wasn't taking any control of the things that I could. I wasn't going into school for extra time. I wasn't going to any study support sessions. I wasn't taking initiative. I was just getting down about my situation, letting it get on top of me, and not trying. I literally gave up trying. In my A-levels, I got 3 A's, which, although I was happy with it at the time, because to be honest, due to my not trying, I didn't really think I would get 3 A's, and the year before in my AS levels, I got a D, so I really didn't think that was going to be a possibility. But I did get 3 A's, and I was happy with that. Obviously then it was the summer holidays, and all my friends were going and preparing for uni. They were going off to uni, and I was stuck at home. I was feeling very isolated. I didn't feel like I had a purpose. I'd gotten a job, but I was really struggling at the job, and I found it very difficult. And I was having a lot of complications with my managers and such, because it was my first job. Basically, I was just really miserable and lonely. So I went on Tinder. This is like the stupidest thing I've ever done. It's just, do not go on Tinder if you are like an 18-year-old girl. There's just no need. You have so much more going on in your life than needing a relationship. Please don't go on Tinder, please. If you take one thing from this video, it is do not go on Tinder. You don't need to go on Tinder. But anyway, I went on Tinder and I really got the validation that I really wanted. You know, I put my best pictures on there, and lots of people were saying these, you know, obviously there were some dodgy ones, but lots of people were saying these lovely things for me, and they were, you know, investing time into me, and I just felt like all my friends were investing time elsewhere, so I didn't have anything. And I met someone who was actually about 6 years older than me, which was like a red flag in itself. I'm gonna be so honest, he was desperate to have a relationship with someone, and I was desperate for an escape from my home life. So I spent a really good portion of my gap year actually living with him. I would say that I was there 3 to 4 nights a week, and then I would just come back home for my work. I wouldn't see my family, I wouldn't talk to my family very much. I didn't really want anything to do with them, and if there was any kind of thing they tried to bring up, my mum or my dad, I would just say, well, you put me in this situation, you put me in this caravan, this is your fault, I'm not here because of you. So it was very much and although there was some kind of truth in that statement, it wasn't my fault. I hadn't done it, you know, this was out of my control and this was their choice. I still put it in a very horrible way, and they didn't know it would take this long. They thought it would be done in 3 months. It was definitely naive of them, but it wasn't fair of me to kind of put all the blame for my sadness and everything on them. So when it kind of came time for me to apply to uni again, I did choose to apply to Oxford, but I literally spent no time doing super curriculars. I was either in work, at my home here in bed, or at my boyfriend's house just rotting in bed, or going shopping and spending all my money. I literally had no money. I was living from like every pay that I got, I would just spend straight away. So I ended up very last minute deciding to apply to Oxford. I'd say last minute, but really it was, I went, and you know, I wasn't going to do it, but you fall in love with it, and it's still something that I'm like, oh my god, I wish I would have tried harder in my levels, and I wish I would have tried harder personal statement and whatever to go there, because it does make me upset, because I know that I would have fit in well there, but it doesn't matter anymore. It's the past, I can't change the past. But I'm giving you guys advice so you don't have kind of the same mistakes that I do. Basically, I had to write my personal statement again because I was applying for PPE, which originated the year before I'd applied to finance, which was what I wanted to do, if I'm going to be honest. The course that I wanted to do in Oxford was economics and management, but I didn't have the grades for that, so I did PPE instead. And I just wrote a personal statement, which, if I'm being honest, I did use AI. I sat in my boyfriend's bed, took me about an hour doing it, and I just didn't care. He worked from 2 till 10, and he slept in till about 11, and I did that too, even though I had no reason to. I did that as well. And also he lived at his grandparents' house, so it's kind of awkward for me to go there and kind of interact with his family, even though they were lovely. Anyway, the point is, I didn't try out my personal statement either, kind of just did whatever. I sent it to my mum. My mum, you know, did some stuff for me as well. I probably shouldn't be saying this actually, but the point is I didn't really try. And then it got to the TSA, and the TSA, to be fair to myself, I did try. I think I put in so much effort, but I wasn't getting the results I wanted because I was just grinding and grinding at the same thing, even though I wasn't doing it the right way. And I know that's why I didn't do well in the TSA. I didn't do well in the TSA because I didn't think to revise in the right way. I just thought, let me do this, do this. And I kept banging the same nail, whatever, with a hammer, even though it was something completely different I should have been doing in the way I was revising, because it clearly wasn't working for me, because I didn't get the result I wanted. And even though I probably did like 20 practice tests, I did so many questions. I bought a big TSA book and I worked my way through that whole book. It still didn't work because I wasn't revising in the right way for me. But I think I couldn't be bothered, and it was another example of me being lazy. I couldn't be bothered to go and find something else that worked for me. And I got 2 days before and I realised that, and I couldn't do anything about it. So I didn't do well in the TSA. I got rejected by Oxford, and I also got rejected by LSE and Durham. Durham was my safety, and actually I would have loved to have gone to Durham. I didn't go to an open day there, but I really love the old architecture, and because it is far away from me. I love the old architecture, and I like the community surrounding it and the way it's described. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it if I went on an open day, but I didn't get into the uni that I wanted. I didn't get into the insurance that I wanted. I didn't get into LSE, and I love London. So I really was stuck. I really was stuck. Again, I blamed it all on the caravan. Oh, I couldn't do it because of this. If I would have not been in the caravan, I would have done better at my A-levels. I mean, yes, as much as that is true, you probably would have done better because you would have tried harder, you know? So it was really about me trying. It wasn't just about the situation I was in. I didn't actually try. So what happens if you take me out of the caravan, if you take me out of that situation? That happened. I went for 2 weeks, I think, and it like doesn't sound like much, but I think it was enough for my brain. I went for 2 weeks to my aunt and uncles who live in upstate New York. They have this big house. They had a lot of space for me and my family, and don't get me wrong, we were on top of each other a bit, but I could cook in the kitchen. I could, you know, chill. It was a clean environment as well, which felt really nice. And I was obviously away from my boyfriend as well. And I was still miserable because I wasn't doing anything to make myself happy. I kind of think when I got there and I spoke to my aunt, I was talking to her about how I wasn't that upset about Oxford. I didn't want it anyway. I knew I was lying. I was speaking to her about my boyfriend and how much I love him and how I'm going to be with him forever, because that's something that he had said as well. And it's nothing against him because he was lovely, but he was also someone who was very invested in the relationship and the idea of like this happy ever after and everything. So I was like, yeah, I think that too, why not? But I think like genuinely, I just knew like there was something in my head. I don't know if it was my head or my like the gut feeling, but there was something where I was like, I can't continue in this relationship. I can't continue like this. I can't do it. I'm not happy. And I realized I was not in love with my boyfriend. I was not at all happy. And although I believed for a long time that I was in love with him and that I was happy with what I was doing, with going to his, and I was just happy with my life in general, I was not. I knew I wasn't living up to my full potential, and that realization really shocked me. And when I kind of really thought about it, I was like, I have actually really let myself go. It was like February at this point, so it was a lot of my gap year gone. I had always been someone who wanted to lose weight. I had actually gained weight in that relationship. I felt the worst I ever had about my body. I hadn't achieved anything that I'd really wanted to since I was a little girl, you know, going to all these unis that I really loved. I didn't get into those unis. I think going there was a massive wake-up call, because as I was speaking about the reality I was living, I really had to face it and be like, oh my god, this is shit. Like, sorry, not to curse, but this sucks. Like, this is not what I want for myself. So I spoke but what I did was I kept trying to, and like throughout the holiday, when I was away, I was trying to convince myself, okay, make more of an effort with your boyfriend. You know, I was trying to speak to him, and I was having problems with his mum as well. So I was like, oh, maybe that's your fault as well. So maybe you need to do things differently and you need to change this. So I was trying to change some things. And I spoke to him, and I was like, oh, you know, maybe I'm going to try doing this with, you know, your mum, so that our relationship gets a bit better, so it's not bad for you. And I think I was just trying to fix something when in my heart I knew it just wasn't right. And it was really bad timing as well, because my boyfriend had an operation like a few weeks before. It makes me sound like a horrible person, but it was just the realization kind of came out of nowhere, and I was really shocked by it. I just realized how much of a bad person I sound, but the truth is you can't settle for less just because you don't want to hurt someone's feelings, and that's what I was doing. I didn't want to hurt his feelings, so I was just like, oh, I'll continue the relationship. But it got to a point I just had to be honest with him, and I told him I didn't love him anymore, and that I wasn't happy, and that I needed to stop the relationship and go back home with my family and be with my family and fix my relationship with my family, because it really had fallen apart as well. So at the end of February, the very last day of February, I broke up with my boyfriend, and I just decided things had to change then and there. So on the 1st of March, I took some before photos of my body and my weight. I started going on walks every single day. I did 15,000 steps a day, just to kind of, be active. I was very much reflecting as well as sort of being active, and finding something I enjoy, because I'd never been an active person. Even when I had lost weight previously, it had just been from eating like mouse amounts, because I'm 5'2", so I was eating like mousey amounts last time. But I just really started taking control of everything. I took control of my body, my health, my relationships. I really took control of my relationships. You know, I started making an effort to speak to my mum, my dad, and my sister, because I really kind of came to the realization that it wasn't just me that was struggling, they were struggling as well, and me being away made them struggle even more, because my parents felt so bad that they'd done this to me, and it makes me feel bad that I did that to them, to make them feel like they had driven me away like that, when the truth was I wasn't happy because of me, not because of them. I really just learned how to make the best out of a bad situation, and even though that relationship was not the right thing for me, and I'm very, very glad I ended, and I think the best thing I've done this year is ending that relationship. It really did teach me two very valuable lessons. Do not settle for less because you want to avoid hurting someone's feelings, and you are in control of your own happiness. You know, I am in control. If I wake up and I'm unhappy and I don't take the steps to be happy, then that is my fault. And, you know, yes, there's arguments for you could be depressed, and it's so hard. I'm aware. I mean, I haven't had a severe form of depression, but I was depressed. I'm aware how hard it is to get out of that rut, but you just have to start taking accountability for what you can do. Even like a 5-minute walk, a journal entry, you know, literally anything to just clear your head and just let something out is better than nothing. I feel like I'm waffling, but I just kind of really want to get this point across, and it's something that I really want to talk about, because I don't want anyone to go through what I went through, where they end up in a really bad situation and they just become a victim to it. You don't want to be a victim. Don't be a victim. Don't be a victim of your situation. You know, become better in spite of your situation. And you know, don't get me wrong, I know there's like bereavement and stuff, which is really hard, but you can't, the truth is you can't change that. You can't change anything that's happened. I couldn't change my living situation. Like, okay, maybe I could rent somewhere, but would that be financially viable? No, it wouldn't. You know, I couldn't change this situation. You can't let something that is out of your control you. That was so poetic. Oh my god. No, I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. And I can't sit here and say I've ever experienced a lot of grief. I'm very lucky I haven't lost anyone really close to me. But, you know, the fact remains, if you can't change that. You know, there are some things you can't change. So just take control of the things you can change and be better through that. So how have I been making changes? I have saved a lot of money, a lot. Come on, I'm on minimum wage and I barely work like 20 hours a week. So I've saved what I wanted to save. I worked towards my New Year's resolution. I did lose 15 pounds, and even I think beyond that, I found activity that I really enjoy, which I never thought. Like, I hate running, I'm not a runner. I run now, I actually run. Like, I'm on week 5 of Couch to 5K, which is crazy. So yeah, I found some active. I've become a more active person. That's a change I'm making. I've started preparing for uni, and it's like I can't change the past and what I've done academically, but I am into a uni that I'm very excited about, and I am preparing. I'm doing pre-reading. It's like, I don't know if anyone else is doing pre-reading, but I'm doing pre-reading. I'm scheduling things, I'm planning things, because I'm excited about this future step in my life. I've also started just focusing on myself. Like, don't get me wrong, I have friends. I have a few very close friends, and I'm sure my friend group will change when I go to uni, but I do not have a boyfriend, and I don't want a boyfriend. I really don't. I am so content with myself, and I just think any kind of boyfriend or whatever will just derail any progress I'm having. That's just a personal preference. You can obviously have a boyfriend and make changes, but right now I don't want one. I'm good. Where, as in, at the start of my gap year, it was something that I wanted because I felt so isolated. I've also kind of learned that being alone isn't necessarily a bad thing. Being alone gives you time to self-reflect and work on yourself. Oh, another change, I have ups and downs with my family. I had a huge fight with my family on Sunday, so bad that I had to call in late to work, but ultimately my relationship with my family is better. It is so much better. I am so much happier. I am so much closer with my mum. I think I actually am closer with my mum now than I've ever been. I've never really been close with my mum, like not super close. I mean, she'll be watching this, which is really bad. I've never not been close with her, but we've always been the ones that have argued, and if I say something mean, I will say it to my mum. So I'm sorry, mum. But I'm a lot closer with my mum now, closer than I've ever been with my mum. I'm very thankful for that. She is the person who inspires me to be successful and to get what I want. So if my mum is watching, thank you, mum. Also, obviously, like, I'm closer with my dad, closer with my sister, you know. Although my relationship with my younger sister is rocky, don't get me wrong, because she's a little sister and I'm older and she's always taking my clothes. But the point is, my relationships with my family are better, and I'm so grateful for that. I think overall, I'm just grateful for the motivation and inspiration that I've had. And also, like, it's not just motivation, it's discipline. I've learned discipline. I've learned that sometimes I have to do things I don't want to do, and doing it on the days where it's really easy and you feel happy is not an achievement, but doing it on the days where it's really hard and you don't feel like doing it, that's the biggest achievement right there. So yes, I know this video has been very all over the place, and it's not my usual type of video, but I kind of want to spin my content kind of more this direction of me giving guidance or whatever. Not even guidance, just talking about my life, because I enjoy it. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you have got to this point at the end, and I hope you found this useful. Please tell me your experiences in the comments. Talk to me. I really want to build a community here of people who, you know, want to be successful or just want to better themselves. Yeah, please subscribe. And also, if you want to see more on this specific topic, I wrote a detailed blog post on my Substack, which is brand new. Yay, another thing I'm doing. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.